Hey there, how's it going? What is up, everybody? Irish Orangutan is back to pass along what you need to know to get better at Madden and grow your MUT team. Enjoy the show. We are back to talk about the 16 teams that will be having players come out for the MUT Heroes promo on opening day of Friday, October the 4th. Thankfully, that was correct. The first team that we will be looking at are the Buffalo Bills. They do have a center that will be not necessarily elite with what everyone is running at the moment. He's not going to be able to run those halfback dives for you. He is going to be able to handle some defensive tackles that have pass block power as their main skill set. So that is something to look at if you are having an issue with that specifically or are a Bills fan. Otherwise, there are better centers. Kevin Mawai comes to mind that will be able to run block much better than him. For the wide receiver that will be coming out for the Buffalo Bills, they have John Brown, a speedster that used to play for the Ravens. He is a tremendous option that shouldn't be too expensive the way that these players will be able to be acquired. So just keep that in mind. And he is someone that will be very, very good at running those deep routes with 84 deep route running. The next team we have up are the Denver Broncos. We have 91 overall Chris Harris Jr. If he had a little bit better speed, we could look at him, but being that is really kind of bad, to be perfectly honest, for a 91 overall card. He has the 93 agility, he has the play rec and the man coverage, but that 87 speed, you're not going to be able to put him on the outside. And with people running 90 speed wide receivers at every position, it's going to be very difficult for you to man him up on the field. So really, for his price, it's not going to be worth it unless you are running full Broncos out there. Derek Wolfe is a nice option at left end. He's not a nice option at left end. He has no outstanding stats, to be perfectly honest. He's a smart lineman, and they don't play well, at least until the next patch comes out. We don't know what they're going to do to buff the run D. Hopefully it will be something along the lines of play rec to make that something that is viable in the game. I do not know what that does at all, to be perfectly honest. For players at this point to really make them better, it's something along the lines mixed in with awareness to allow them to react to things in certain amounts of time, but awareness is more beneficial at this point. So play rec is really not something you should be looking at for these players. And something that I did want to bring up that this MUT Heroes promo has had in the past is one stat that is really outstanding. They didn't really go into that at all, so that's something that is a little bit disappointing about this promo. It brings some outstanding players depending on what you would necessarily want. With those previous two players, Chris Harris Jr. and Derek Wolfe, they had the agility and the play rec that were really high. But looking at even this Larry Fitzgerald and David Johnson, they're pretty mediocre across the board. So it is a little bit depressing there. Again, all of these are a work in progress, so they could boost one of those things, but David Johnson is actually just straight across the board average. He does have decent speed, so he could be an adequate player. He's a much better receiver than they're giving him credit for, with just that 68 catching, though, so that is a little bit bad. And of course, Larry Fitzgerald only has 80 speed, so if you can manage with that, that's someone who could match up with Chris Harris Jr. If you are running him, then your opponent could feel a little bit better about their team as well. Next up, the Cowboys. They have Jason Witten coming in at a 90 overall. Again, very slow, but very able to catch the ball in pretty much any situation, and does have that decent run block at a 78. La'el Collins, honestly, he should be getting an 86 overall. He almost should be getting the 90 overall over Witten, to be perfectly honest, with the way he has been playing and finishing blocks. But they really did not make his card as good as he actually is on the field. For the Dolphins, Xavier Howard Actually a very good cornerback, especially if you like running a zone scheme, which I do. He's actually going to be a player that I'm going to look into to kind of help out with that speed. With Champ Bailey and a couple other players I do have on my team, he might just be a short time fit, but even for that situation, if his price goes down far enough, he might be one of those players that I might look into getting. But they also have Damon Godshaw that is coming out as well. Very slow, no stats that really stand out. A poor Derek Wolfe almost. Different position, but still very poor speed for a defensive tackle. For the Detroit Lions, we have Matthew Stafford. Does have tremendous throw power and the ability to get the ball out there. So honestly, not a bad budget option. He's going to be able to have a stronger arm than every quarterback in the game at this point, and for a short period of time, he's going to be able to stand up with all those other quarterbacks. He is a little bit slow compared to Lamar Jackson's, Vic's, Young's, but he is definitely able to get those passes out there. With everything being over 80, he is definitely capable. Sadly, his play action is his best stat minus his throw power, so that really does not help you out all that much. Kerryon Johnson is someone I'm excited about. I wish they would have given him a little more speed and a little bit more elusiveness. He is a tremendous running back, and I've loved watching him since he was in college. For the Green Bay Packers, we have the pass blocking aficionado David Bakhtiari. He is definitely capable of shutting things down over there for you. The bad part is he only has 77 run block, so he's not all that capable of running those stretches that everyone does desire. One player that is definitely going to be looked at for the top 12 lists coming out this weekend is Marcus Valdez-Scantling. He does have 90 speed at 6'4", so he is someone that you can put out on the outside. And if they do run that press one too many times on you, he can burn those slower cornerbacks deep very easily. For the Panthers, we have Greg Olsen, another guy that is able to come into the game and make all the catches. He is definitely superior to Jason Witten catching the ball, but he cannot run block. I don't completely understand that. They've always had his run blocking significantly low. Maybe that is just a characteristic that he does have, but he always has those tremendous catching stats. And then at right guard, we have Trey Turner, who is a very decent run blocker, but the rest of his stats are very, very low, to be perfectly honest, compared to his overall. His awareness is very high, so if that is something that you think is significant, definitely look at him, but his pass blocking stats are just too low for me to consider. For the Oakland Raiders, we have LaMarcus Joyner at 5'8". That does put him at a disadvantage, but he does have other stats that will allow him to play up, potentially even as a slot cornerback, and play very well with that 90 zone. So that is something to consider, and he could help you out a little bit in the run game compared to a lot of other cornerbacks. Of course, he's a safety, so he should be bolstered in a lot of those categories. And then at right outside linebacker, Tahir Whitehead does have some decent stats. I believe that he is much more of a coverage corner, at least I hope, because those rushing stats are absolutely abysmal. So he is someone who can run people down. Think of a Derek Brooks, but definitely a poor man's Derek Brooks. For the Ravens, we have Matthew Judon. He is capable of getting after the quarterback. I wish he was one more overall so we could get him to that 90 power move, but I do not believe he'll be able to do that, and he doesn't have a power up either, so that holds him even a little bit further down. And at outside linebacker, you do want to start getting up to at least 80 speed with the just quarterbacks that are running around and how capable they all are. And then at cornerback, a man after my heart, Marlon Humphrey, for what he did to Odell. Of course, he did not choke him. He just kind of held him down after getting punched in the face, which is definitely understandable. But at cornerback, he is someone that is not going to be able to, again, keep up with those speedsters, and his coverage stats are a little bit low as well. Hopefully, his ability to shut down the run is a little bit higher. For the Rams, we have Brandon Cooks coming in at 91 speed, one of the best speedsters in the game every year, does have decent catching stats and route running stats as well. He's going to be close for that deep and short route running of getting to 90, but we're probably going to have to wait for his next card to be able to get there. And then we have Jared Goff coming in at 86 overall. He is not someone who I would necessarily recommend. He's given a little bit lower throw power, but he's going to be capable of getting the ball out there. But with all the other quarterbacks that you are able to get, he is not one of those that should be anywhere close to the top of your list. For the Washington Redskins, we have Daron Payne. He is someone that has very low stats where you want to see them. A little bit disappointing for him. Wishing that block shedding would at least be a little bit higher to make this card a little bit more manageable. With that 92 strength, that is something that you could consider, and hopefully that can factor in with block shedding and help out a little bit, but it's not going to help out the most. His 73 speed is something that is nice and something that you hopefully can look forward to later on in the year, but since he's probably not going to have a power up, this card is not going to be all that helpful. And then at cornerback, we have Josh Norman, and coming in at 83 speed, I don't really need to say anything else. He's not going to be capable of keeping up with pretty much anybody. For the Seattle Seahawks, we have a tremendous middle linebacker in Bobby Wagner. He is a little bit on the slower side comparing him to a Shazier or a Devin White, but he does have that hit power, tackle, and play rec that can help you out at that middle linebacker, just making sure he's in the right spot at the right time. He's, of course, going to have great awareness, and he has that 78 zone coverage that really does help out. Block shedding is a little bit low as well, but as his cards continue to get better throughout the year, he's going to be one of the elite middle linebackers again. And then again for Shaquille Griffin, we have him coming in at 90 speed, but his coverage stats are very low, so hopefully his next card can stand out. Has all the physical stats, just does not quite have those coverage stats that you might want. But to be honest, if you aren't able to necessarily have all the coverage stats and just need to have the ability to keep up with some of those speedsters, this might be a decent option for you. Having a lower agility, he's going to be perfect for verticals, but not necessarily excellent on those slants and posts that you might need him on. For the Steelers, of course, love watching Gut Fox, and he, of course, guessed that they were going to have two offensive linemen, and that is exactly what happened. They did say on stream that DeCastro's stats were a little bit off. As you can see, that is the 86 left tackle. I think that does mirror. Yeah, it does. It does have his name actually down at the bottom as well. Alejandro Villanueva. He does have decent stats over there, but is a little bit lacking in some of those run blocking categories that you really do need. Excited to see what DeCastro does come out as tomorrow. And the last team we do have to go over for the players that will be coming out tomorrow, at least when this video comes out, are the Minnesota Vikings. And we have Adam Thielen with 86 speed, 87 jumping, solid catching stats, but again, not going to be able to get away from those elite cornerbacks that you might necessarily go up against. So probably not someone that you will want to be considering at this point. Brian O'Neill, I'm a little bit discouraged by this card. I did have him at the end of the end of the year last year because he is a tremendous athlete. But unless you're going to be running him at tight end, I would not necessarily go out and pick him up because he is a little bit lacking in some of those categories that you will need him going up against Von Millers and Khalil Max on that right side. That is what we have for you today. I hope you are able to go out and get those players that are coming out for your team. Let me know down below if there are some players that you will be considering for other teams as well. There are only a few people on this list that I'm probably going to consider, and looking at the next 16 teams, there are a few more that will be tremendous players, and some of those 80 to 81 overalls won't be terrible budget players, and we will be getting an upgrade to our Kyler Murray rookie premier card, which I'm excited about for side accounts, of course. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for checking into the Irish Orangutan channel. Keep coming back for more Madden knowledge. There will be consistent videos up every week, so make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button to see them all. Come by Twitch to engage and hit me up on Twitter at Irish Orangutan. Take care and much love, everybody.